I don't want to hear this nonsense. This becomes so easy and so quick. Think about it. People who are healthy are not always on a diet. Just because you got in, don't get cocky. That is the position that you want to be in. Don't waste this time by thinking this is a day off. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It is currently 4:20 in the AM. I've been watching you guys in my analytics. You people are hunting for those 3-4-year-old McGill videos, and now that I'm a graduate, it's time for a refresher. I'm gonna give you guys my one secret, the one thing I did that led me to get A's in the most efficient way possible with the least amount of studying. No, don't get me wrong. I am not saying, definitely not saying this is any of those lazy girl, easy A hacks. I'm actually such a hater of these things because anything that comes easy, whether it's success, money, grades, it goes just as easy. This is a long-term, super sustainable method of succeeding at all your classes. So I want to preface this by saying this doesn't work for every class, but it works for most. At least it works for most of my classes. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my degree and what I studied if that might help in any way. I'm sure someone will ask me. I graduated from McGill University. My major was International Development Studies and I had a double minor, one in economics and one in marketing. So I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts, but because of my minor and because my major had a little mix and match, I spent many years in the business faculty too, taking a lot of business classes. I don't know if it was the classes that I chose, but this system worked for the majority of my classes. Honestly, it doesn't need all of that. Let's get to it. So what was this one magical thing? It was a routine. So I've mentioned this many times in my McGill videos in the past. There is a trial and error system for everything. I spent my entire first year trial and erroring this system until it had worked for me. So now I'm gonna share it with you. When I break it down, it's really so stupidly simple if and only if you can build the habits that get you into this routine. This is a fake schedule that I drafted up for all of us. Yas's class schedule. That's me, I'm Yas. So let's say you're taking 4 classes. Purple, yellow, green, and pink. Most of the time, this is what it's gonna look like. Each week for each course, you're gonna have 3 hours of class. Most of the time it's split in 2, so that's 1.5 hour, 1.5 hour. Lovely. Don't bother yourself with those 3-hour, once-a-week classes. It's not worth the effort, the burnout, or the studying and the catching up that you're gonna have to do. Let's say this is your class schedule of the week. Step 1, you're starting on a Monday, right? Wrong, you're starting on a Saturday. So obviously your university is gonna have its own portal that you're gonna be logging into, and you're gonna have all the material, all the information, the syllabi, everything you're gonna need for the entire semester. It's all gonna be available to you. And if it's not available right at the beginning, it's gonna keep getting updated week by week. So like you're always gonna have the information that you need in advance. So what are you gonna do on Saturday before the week starts? You are gonna prepare for your classes that are happening on Monday. That's purple and yellow. This is step number 1. I don't want to hear this nonsense. What do you mean prepare? That's weird. Again, each class is different, but the majority of your classes, or at least the majority of my classes, I always had readings to do and class participation. So whether you like it or not, you're gonna have to be prepared. Even without participation points, you should never show up to class without having looked at the material first. Now, what do we mean by readings? You're gonna have 2 types of classes. Type of class number 1. You're gonna have a bunch of short articles and you're gonna actually be able to read them, make bullet points next to each paragraph, highlight the key points, open up your mind, make up your own real life examples, relate it to your personal experiences, blah, blah, blah. These types of readings are gold. Then there is class type number 2. You're gonna get 5 80-page readings before each and every single class, and no one's gonna do any of that. Come on, don't be silly. Those readings are not meant to be read. So what you do in this situation, let's say there's 5 readings. Most of them are gonna be similar to each other, so pick 2 that are the most distinct. I used to do this before ChatGPT even existed. And by the way, don't even use ChatGPT for this because you're not gonna get an accurate response. I would find summaries or similar readings or response articles or something that's related to this topic and this author and this reading that is gonna give me some information on what it's about. You're not done. Read only the introduction, and then the first sentence and the last sentence of each paragraph, and then you read the conclusion, then you go back and read the abstract, and you're done. Just make a couple bullet points after that. Do you have to understand the material? No, but you just need to pre-digest it. You need to get an idea of what are we gonna talk about in class. You don't wanna show up and be introduced to a concept that you've literally never heard of before in your life. Just open up the reading. Just do some research. Like, you'll be so fine. At the beginning of the semester, when you still have the energy, the time, and the space, with whatever type of class that you're doing, sometimes I would find recent articles, current issues happening in the world, try to relate it to the material that we're learning. It's just a possibility. It possibly could be super helpful when you get to class and later in the semester. So you did your readings, you're done preparing, right? Wrong. Next step. You're gonna have these two options. Number one, the class objective is always gonna be on the syllabus. Like, you're gonna know what you're gonna be talking about in class. Even if it's 3 bullet points and you have no idea what the prof means by this, just keep those class objectives in mind, because when you get to class, no matter what you're learning, no matter what you're writing down, you're gonna be able to organize your brain and your notes and your thought process back to those class objectives. They're not there for fun. They're there because they're actually supposed to guide you in your learning and in your studying. Your second option, which isn't always available because, again, it depends on the class, if it's a talking kind of class or if it's a presentation kind of class, sometimes you already have the PowerPoints prepared. Most of the time it doesn't have a lot of information, but skim through it, just get an idea of the way the class is gonna flow, what is the hierarchy of information, and also, most importantly, get an idea if anything that you read and took notes on in your readings is gonna relate to whatever is on the PowerPoint. That's it. That's step number one. And listen to me. I am telling you, this is the step that you need to spend most, or that you will spend most of your time on, because preparation, trust me, is 50% of the work. You're literally just building the foundation to easily digest information because you've already seen the material. Like, you're going to class ready. And again, you don't necessarily have to understand, you just have to know. You just have to be aware. So I said we're starting on Saturday, right? That's because what you're doing on Saturday is doing step number 1 for class purple and class yellow, the classes that are happening on Monday. What you're doing on Sunday is step number 1 for class green and class pink, just your remaining classes. It doesn't matter which day they fall in the week. Now we get to step number 2. It's Monday, 9 a.m., time to start class purple. Before I even get into step number 2, for that to be possible, you need to go to class. I'm not here to motivate you, to push you, or to tell you to go to class, because I myself have suffered this bad addiction of skipping class, but never ever for the classes where I use this system, because then it just F's up my entire system and ruins my week, then ruins my semester, and then ruins my life. So step number 2, you get to class. You've already pre-digested all the information. You generally know what the readings are about. You have bullet points and you have questions ready. The questions are not important for you to participate or to ask in class. It's there to guide your way of thinking. Let me tell you from now, if you're the type of person who takes handwritten notes, I don't know how to help you, because I'm just personally not that person, and that's not how I learn. And it could fit into the system, but it just doesn't work for me. What I do, I open up my document where I take notes, and it's word vomit. Word vomit all the way. Literally everything that I'm hearing is important. I'm writing it down. If it makes sense, if it doesn't make sense, spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, everything that I'm hearing, that I'm thinking, any connections that I'm making, it just goes bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. All of it is gonna go down in this one giant document. While I'm in class, while I'm trying to understand and actually this time learning and digesting this information, I don't care how my notes look. The point is to just get everything down. Not just what the professor is saying. When people are asking questions, you better be writing down those questions and answering them yourself. The questions that you have prepared that you think are actually going to be relevant to the class that you don't feel are answered, raise your hand, ask those questions, write them down. So class is done now. Personally, I am not the type of person who likes to follow up with my prof after and ask a bunch of questions. I like to give myself the space and the chance after step number 3, which we will get to next. I like to give myself the space and the chance to learn the information and go over it again on my own before I conclude that there is something I'm not understanding that I need help with. So now we're on to step number 3. So we're done with class purple at 11 a.m. on Monday. What do you do right after? You are not going off and frolicking around with your friends. I'm not saying you can't go get your coffee and call your friends and have some lamps and meet them at the library and la la. Do all of that, have your fun, but it is also time to solidify all the work you did in step number 1 and step number 2. Go to the library, sit down, open up your notes from the class that literally just happened when the information is so fresh in your brain and in your face, and literally just reorganize those notes. Put them in headings and subheadings, put your bullet points, put some side comments where you're having some fun little thoughts that are super relevant. When you were preparing, you saw the information the first time. When you went to class, you saw it for the second time. Now that you're reorganizing your notes, you're seeing it for the third time. When you think all you're doing is reorganizing, subconsciously, you're actually memorizing and creating new connections in your brain for new ideas, new ways of understanding. For example, some things that you didn't necessarily understand when you were preparing, that you didn't really get answers to while you were in class, now that you're kind of revising, it's starting to all make sense. So when you're done organizing from A to Z, you're gonna go back to your reading notes and your research notes that you did in step number 1, and you're gonna pick and choose what bullet points, what important notes that you made that fits into your lecture notes. This way, it's literally all coming full circle. When you're done doing all of this, you can just look at your notes and be like, this kind of all makes sense now. So generally, this would be my routine. This has absolutely nothing to do with time and everything to do with efficiency. One of my teachers explained this to me when I was younger, but you need to keep seeing the same information again and again, repeatedly in a certain span of time for you to actually remember it. You're gonna do the same thing, step 1 and step 2 for purple class on Wednesday. So most likely, because the information from class on Monday is still fresh in your brain, when you're doing step 1 for the class on Wednesday, you're gonna subconsciously be able to make connections between what you learned and what you're about to learn. And when you're preparing, bullet points, notes, ideas may come up and they may not. Or when you're in step 2 while you're in class, you're easily going to be able to raise your hand and be like, actually, this makes total sense and I can completely build on this point again and again because of all the information we learned last week. La la la, you finish class, you finish step 3, and you do this for all of the week. I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning, but I usually don't have class on Friday. So for me, Friday is usually empty, or if I do have class, it's always early in the morning. Either way, it's the end of the week. You have nothing left to prepare. You have no classes to go to. You have no notes to organize. This is your golden day. Don't waste this time by thinking this is a day off, because it's not. Trust me, you're gonna get all your week's worth of work done in just a couple of hours. Literally just like 3 hours if you grind super hard at the library. Friday comes. What are you gonna do? You're gonna pull up every class. We're gonna start with purple. What am I doing with purple? I'm just revising my notes. Now here, I can't necessarily tell you what to do because everyone has their own method of remembering things. For me, if I'm just reading, all I'm doing is understanding, but I'm not remembering anything. Again, like I said, within the first couple of days of digesting information, you're gonna remember and understand, but after a long period of time, you're just gonna forget. But the more that you repeat in this 1 week period of time, even if you don't look at your notes for a while, you're still gonna remember and be able to refer back to what you learned in class on Monday and class on Wednesday. Like I said, when you're organizing, heading, subheading, like split it up, break it up into blocks. For some classes, I really benefited when I would turn the heading into a question and I wrote a bunch of notes under. So let's say you have one whole section, write a sentence or two that will summarize what you just read. Do that for every single section for each set of notes for Monday, and then for Wednesday, this will literally take you like 30 minutes. Max an hour if you had like a lot of readings or just like a lot of notes for this class and there's just more to go over. This becomes so easy and so quick because you're gonna reach a point where you're like, I've literally seen this information so many times this week. I've read it again and again. I understand it. Like the classes just happened a couple days ago. I remember. I know what we're talking about and I'm ready for whatever we're gonna be learning next week. That is the position that you wanna be in. Finish early on Friday by noon or by 1 or by 2, and that's it. You're done. You're done and you have your whole day. You have your whole night nights. And let me tell you something. Throughout the semester, as the semester progresses, every week when I'm revising, I'll just skim. I'll take a very quick look at the stuff that I did throughout the semester so far. So I'll be like, week 1, no, yeah, I remember this information. Week 2, no, yeah, I remember. 3, 4, okay, this is what I did last week. This is what I need to remember. 5, this is what I'm doing this week. This is what I need to focus on. Revise. I don't know how this comes across, and I don't know if this is gonna be like an overwhelming amount of information for you guys, but trust me, by the time you get to your first assignment, if it's an essay or if you get to your midterm and it's an exam, you're literally gonna be like, ugh, I've seen this information so many times. If I look at it one more time, I'm gonna slap myself. That is exactly where you want to be, where you know the information so well that there's nothing left to study. Now, am I saying that you shouldn't prepare before your exam? No, but what I'm saying is that you're not gonna have to study. You're gonna have the luxury of time to talk to your TAs, talk to your profs, and figure out what should I focus on, what kind of exam is this, how do you usually like to trick us. Each prof like really does their own thing. They love to trick you. They love to bring the class average down. Whatever, I'm not even gonna get into that. If you guys want, that can be a whole other video for a different time of like how to prepare for your exams and and this and that. Before I get to the conclusion, I do want to emphasize this system only works if you have a routine. Like, think about it. People who are healthy are not always on a diet. They have a healthy lifestyle. For them, it's in their routine to wake up and to crave going on a run. When you're a student, you're building a lifestyle. I'm not telling you I never felt overwhelmed. That would completely be a lie. There are so many times where I was burnt out and tired. But for the classes where I used this system, this was the one thing that like kept me going super sustainably. So now that I'm done giving you guys my spiel, I'm gonna tell you the comments that I usually get from my friends or from others when I talk about this, and my responses. Number 1, that's a lot of work. You're going to one of the top 30 schools in this planet. Did you think there wasn't gonna be a lot of work to do? Did you think you were just gonna fly on by? Did you think it was gonna be an easy breeze just because you got in? With McGill, it's much easier to get into than to stay. So just because you got in, don't get cocky. Even if you were super smart in high school, literally everyone at this school is a superstar. And the reason that they do well is because they work hard. Yes, some people are gifted, but you need to work on your talents to be able to use them. Number 2, I don't have time to do all of that. Yeah, you do. What are you doing all day? Scrolling on your phone, chatting with your friends? Like, I'm sure you don't need all day to do that. Time and place. And again, efficient system. Once you get all your work done right at the start of your day, you have the whole evening to do whatever you choose, whatever you please. And I don't want to hear this excuse of I have work. I went to work. By the way, that doesn't make me special. Most, I'm not going to say all because not everyone does. Most people work. Most people work and study at the same time. So trust me, it really can be done.